Now listen with chapter number 13, Coordination and Response. In this chapter you will find out about the human nervous system, neurons and how they work, reflex action, synapses, the structure and function of eye, hormones including adrenaline, insulin, estrogen and testosterone, how plants respond to stimuli. Reaction time. Let me explain the term reaction time. To make it simple, reaction time is the time taken by a stimuli to reach the nervous system and make an appropriate response. Okay, so the capability of an organism to respond to a stimuli is said to be the reaction time. It's actually, for example, detecting a stimuli in the environment needs some time. Now, how fast or how quick you detect the stimuli is actually said to be the reaction time, and how quickly you respond to a stimuli is actually the reaction time. Okay, what is stimuli? Stimuli means any change in the environment is said to be a stimuli. Okay, we detect changes in the environment through our five senses. For example, eye, ear, nose, skin, tongue. These are actually the five senses. They detect changes in the environment. Those are said to be the how quickly you can feel it. For example, let's suppose an insect sits on the skin. Okay, now how quickly you feel it, this and how quickly you respond to it is said to be the reaction time. Having a fast reaction time is important in many sports, but in a short sprint even it should make the difference between gold medal and silver one. Okay, for example, fast reaction time is very important. Okay, sprint races are started with a gun because sound takes time to travel. It would not be fair for the starter to stand at one end of the starting line and simply fire the gun. The sound would take longer to reach the runner furthest away from him, so there would be a significant disadvantage. Okay, instead, the firing of the gun is silent and is transmitted as an electrical signal along wire to individual speakers in each runner's starting blocks. Each runner should hear the sound of the gun at exactly the same moment. Now, sprint is only one of the examples that is explained over here. Okay, in each and every sports, reaction time is very important, whether it's football, whether it's swimming, whatever the sports may be. Reaction time is very important. How quickly you respond to a specific movement or a specific stimulus, or how quickly you make a specific action. Okay, that's very important. Okay, one thing more I would like to add over here: the reaction time differs or varies from person to person. The reaction time is at the peak at the age of 25. For example, if you are lower than 25, maybe your reaction time is a little bit slower. Or even as you aged, for example 30, 40 or 50, also the reaction time slows down. Okay, male and female also have different reaction times. For example, women actually have high reaction time in making decisions than the male. Okay, coordination in living organism like animals. Okay, let me explain the term coordination. There are trillions of cells inside the body of humans. Now, an individual cell cannot do anything by itself. Cells actually combine together to form tissue, tissues combine together to form organs, organ combine together to form system, and system to form together to form organism. Now all these cells, tissues, organs and system work as a team to make the body of a living organism, and they coordinate and cooperate with one another to make a specific function possible. That is said to be the coordination. Changes in environment, in an organism environment, are called stimuli and sensed by specialized cells called receptors. The organism respond using effectors. Let me explain the terms over here, that is called receptors and effectors. Receptors are the transducers. It means that they convert one form of energy into another form. For example, there are two types of receptor cells inside the eyes. Those are called rod and cone cells. They are specifically designed to see things. For example, rod and cone cell. They convert light energy into electrical signals. It means that they are energy transducer. They convert one form of energy into another form. Light energy into electrical impulses. Okay. What is effector? Effector are the muscle that respond. For example, let's suppose you touch something very hot. Okay. Now with your arms. Now what? The biceps muscle just pull your hands away from those hot objects. Or for example, you step on something very sharp like a nail. Okay. Now the muscle in your thigh actually pull your legs away from those sharp objects that might be a broken glass or a nail. Muscles are effector and may respond by a stimulus by contracting. Glands can also be effector. Now glands are actually the organ that secrete hormones. Okay. For example, if you smell good food cooking, your salivary glands may respond by secreting saliva. Okay. So glands releases secretions. So different types of glands have different secretions. Salivary glands produce saliva. Pancreas produce insulin, glucagon and pancreatic juice. So these are said to, all the glands secrete chemicals. Animals need fast and effective communication system between their receptors and effectors. This is partly because most animals move in search of food, either to catch their prey or avoid predators. Okay. Now, inside the bodies of living organisms, specifically the human, there are two ways of communication. One is called the nervous system. The nervous system is the fast way of communication. It takes seconds to respond to a stimulus. And another is a little bit slower but still very important, and that is called the hormonal communication. Okay, or endocrinal communication. So we have two systems, endocrine system and we have nervous system. The endocrine system produces hormones and the nervous system uses cells called neurons to send messages from one part of the body to the next. To make sure that the right effectors respond at the right time, there needs to be some kind of communication between receptors and effectors. The way in which receptors pick up stimuli and then pass information onto an effector is called coordination. Methods of sending information. How messages are sent from one place or from one organ to another or from one part of the body to the next. Most animals have two methods of sending information from receptors to effector. The fastest is by means of nerves. Neuron cells combine together to form nerve. The receptors and nerves make the animal's nervous system. Okay, receptors are the cell present in the sense organ, and they convert one form of energy into another form. For example, skin. Skin contain pressure receptors. Okay, they convert pressure into electrical signals. Okay, they also contain pain receptors, so they can convert pain or pressure or mechanical pressure to electrical impulses. A slower method. So nervous communication is the faster way. Okay, and slower method is by means of hormones, but still a slower method, but still a very important one, is by means of chemicals called hormones. Hormones are part of the endocrine system. Now let me explain the term endocrine over here a little bit more for you. Endocrine system is the system that produces hormones. Different types of hormones are produced, and different types of hormones have different functions to do. Endocrine glands. Endocrine system is composed of endocrine glands, and endocrine glands are also called ductless glands because they do not have any tubes or pipes or vessels, so they directly releases their hormones into the bloodstreams. During the blood circulation, the hormones are affected by the target cells, means they only respond to the target cell, not each and every cell. Okay, now I would like to explain over here the structure of a typical neuron. The neuron you are going to observe is said to be the motor neuron. This neuron actually sends information from the central nervous system to the effector, a particular muscle or a gland. Now look at this structure. This structure is said to be dendrites. Dendrites are the inputs of the neuron. It means that this neuron receives information through the dendrites. This structure is the most important structure of a neuron. This structure is said to be the cell body. Cell body is the most important part of the neuron because once a cell body is damaged, the neuron cannot repair itself. Then, just like other cell, it contains the nucleus. Okay, and there are many different dendrites. It means that a single neuron may connect to 1,000 other neurons, making it the most complicated network on the planet. Okay, now look at here. You can see that messages are received through the dendrites, then they pass along the cell body, and then axon, and finally it reaches the axon terminal. At axon terminal, the messages are sent to another neuron or the effector. Keep it in mind that your muscle also respond to these informations. Okay, the neuron cell and the muscle cells can be activated. Okay, now from this point to this point, this is said to be the axon, and you can see that the axon are protected by myelin sheath. Now what is myelin sheath? Let me explain the term myelin sheath over here. These are actually the cells, they protect the axon, and number two, this is actually the fast transmitting. This neurons, they are protected by myelin sheath, transmit messages much faster as compared to the neuron they are not protected by the myelin sheath. It means that they transmit messages at the rate of 100 meters per second. Now you can see that there are gaps between two myelin sheath or two Schwann cells, for example right here, right here, right here, and right here. So messages actually jump from one node of Ranvier. This point is said to be node of Ranvier. Messages jump from one node of Renvier to the next and to the next to the next. Okay, the messages are actually jumping from one node of Renvier to another node of Renvier to another node of Renvier and finally to the axon terminal. Therefore, they provide a fast track for transmitting information from one part to another part. Okay, now if you look at this structure, this is actually a particular type of cell, and that is said to be Schwann cell. It contains the nucleus in them. Okay, so